No. And I had to keep it.
Are we rolling? This is YouTube Live, correct?
You said you're
Yup,
not
that's
going to be in a
YouTube
parking
Live
lot?
with Facebook Live on this side. Okay, everybody, share this out.
Huh?
To some extent, Infinity Ward,
Oh, what time?
And it feels.
Okay.
I'll come to that in just a second. But to come back to it, so I would say the
No, I told you I lost everything when I took my
have turned
phone.
out to be an extraordinary gift of people.
Time people.
Oh, okay.
That by documenting things that.
Okay.
All right, I'll be there.
They may be losing, I don't know
All right.
how much yet. And to come back, I would say that unquestionably.
Is this super right for you? You good?
An American.
Yeah?
Yeah, not
Gotcha.
too direct,
And my
that's all.
father's slave man upon the back.
No, I'm trying to see what is up here to
The
read.
primary wealth of America, the primary wealth. You have to have accumulated wealth to start, to build. You did it another way here in Australia. You had to build your accumulated wealth too. You just came and took it. You know what I mean? And that's what they did in most of the countries. It's what the Europeans did. You just
That's
took
what I'm
it.
saying. Because there's not like one section, specific
All right.
section that you
So
look at
guys,
and find like
there's
news.
a lot of America that
Where
belongs
we
to
at?
me yet. Understand? But just like the Scottish American is proud of being from Scotland, I'm proud for being African. Now in our school books they tried to tell me that all Africans were savages. Till I got to London and found most of the Africans I knew were going to Oxford and Cambridge and doing very well and learned their culture. And even once somebody had the temerity after one had conquered the Chinese people and imposed upon them the opium trade and everything else to suggest that they were back.
Time check.
The people have been civilized so long over the rest of you folks is making
Nah.
sense at all. So somewhere, it was wonderful to find about the colored peoples of the world that they were.
All right, everybody out there,
So I would say
share
I'm an
button.
American who is infinitely prouder to be of African descent, no question about it. No question about it. I'm an Afro-American, and I don't use the word American ever loosely again.
You're now listening to RTH 2000, where culture and community meet. RTH 2000 is a full-service media company broadcasting on television, radio, and the internet. We bring our audience local, national, and international music, news, and spiritual vibes. So spread the word.
Have you heard?
RTA 2000 is on the move.
It's the Changemaker Show on RTH 2000, 107.9 FM, with your host, Royston Allman.
And your co-host, Rebecca St. Louis.
And Eric Perryman.
You needed that energy. But you got that today, so. Thanks, Cuba. Halfway. Oh, you got some in Cuba? No wonder.
Wow. Y'all on Facebook Live. Right there. Your whole discussion. Y'all
You got
crazy.
some in Cuba.
Did you got your Cuban cigar?
Oh, I got a lot of them too.
You bring me one?
Selling for $100 a pop.
Oh, you crazy.
No. It depends on
I got Cuban cigars in Dubai.
Hey.
3 of them.
Greetings and welcome to the Changemaker Show. I'm your host, Royston Allman. You hear my voice, so know that I have permission from the elders to speak. So I greet you in the words Emotep, which means I come offering peace and satisfaction. Peace and satisfaction is what we mean to bring to our community here on the Changemaker Show. And we do that every week with our illustrious co-host, Miss Rebecca St. Louis.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. And Mr. Eric Perryman.
Good morning. Peace
Straight
and
from
blessings.
Cuba.
Yes.
Straight
Welcome
from
back.
Cuba. All right. Well, let's start off with some news on tap before we get into our subject matter.
Okay, well, we already know the biggest news, well, not just throughout the state of New Jersey, but nationally is the whole incident that happened in Virginia and Donald Trump's reaction to it. We tried to just brush it off, so that's the biggest news on tap right now.
Okay. Well, our
Oh, and besides that, we also have the incident, the alleged terrorist attack in Barcelona, because you never know nowadays if things are actual terrorist attacks or are they was it red flag? Not a red flag. What is it called? What is it called?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Well,
You talking about setups?
Yeah, there you go. But it's a specific term that it's called.
Okay. All right. So we have. All right. So other than all right. Other than other than that, we're moving into our subject matter. Let's do that. I mean, another news on tap. Actually, this morning, you heard about there's 6 police officers shooting nationwide, like in the last day or so.
Didn't one it just happened last night in
It's been from Florida. I haven't got it all. So
yeah, in
maybe some of our listeners will
Gainesville
give us
or
a update
something.
on that.
I think it might be Gainesville. Well, I know one of them died, and the other one
yeah,
is in critical condition.
Also, people are running around shooting at police.
I don't know the
They
circumstances.
think it might be a setup
I don't know.
or an ambush.
Yeah, someone was ambushed for sure, but I don't know the complete circumstances under the shootings. But you know, senseless violence. You know, really just there's no room for it. Now, well, we're gonna get into some other.
Okay,
stuff.
I'm about to say because yeah.
No, senseless violence. No. See, the whole thing is this. I mean, and I keep it raw on this issue. And it's not. This is not an iced tea moment of cop killer or anything like that. I got family in law enforcement. Love my East Orange folks. That's righteous and justice on the police force. We don't really have that type of real problem. You see the lights flashing. And we're like, oh, they on some old, my tail light out and they gonna give me a ticket, they not gonna let me slide. Like that's our biggest
Right.
thing in our city.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, they so much on this traffic and we complain about that. They not shooting folks. so we
But that
because-
doesn't mean that people still aren't afraid, though.
Well, I mean, I can speak for myself. In East Orange and in Newark, I'm not fearing for my life when lights flash up behind me.
Yeah.
You know, now get me down in Delaware, Maryland, and so forth, and lights flash up. I don't know what's about to happen.
No, you know what?
Well-
Let me correct that. In those towns, I wouldn't be scared of, but if I get pulled over like Maplewood or South Orange, oh, I'm terrified.
Oh well, we saw what happened to
Yeah, exactly.
we saw what happened to the brother right here in Bloomfield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeter. Marcus Jeter.
yeah, Marcus. Marcus got pulled over. I mean, had some type of incident at the home, an argument with his girlfriend. Police show up, no big deal, and say let him go. And then all of a sudden he's under attack, and they hide the tape where they're punching him in his face and his hands are in the air. It's
No, they
crazy.
busted the window shield open.
Yeah,
Tell him, oh, don't reach for a
don't
gun.
reach my gun while his hands are
Exactly.
palms in the air, but they hid the tape for months. So he was about to go down. But so yeah, I don't, those, but sometimes, like what happened, I think it was Dallas, where they exploded, they killed the dude with the explosion or
Yeah.
whatever. I think that was really unjustified also. Now, a direct murderers who actually murdered somebody, I'm not gonna start down that road. Look, today's show, we're talking about the power of the N-word. And, I had a little backlash when first advertising this a couple weeks ago. We weren't able to get into it. I got some back. But after last night, I know I'm in good company. Because Trevor Noah and Dave Chappelle both touched on the same stuff that, I'm not comparing myself to them, but the perspective of thought that was brought in their comedy shows really, so we the lines are going to be open for this. We're talking about the power of the N-word. We got some feedback from some people. So the line here is 973-672-1271. Does the N-word have power with you? Have we given it power in our community? So these are some of the questions I have. Can we be successful and have hip-hop and our normalization of the word? Can we actually be successful with that? So, thoughts?
Well, look, so I've had this conversation with different people,
Mm-hmm.
and some people would say, well, it's not really the same word that was bestowed onto us by our masters, because there's an ER and then there's a GA.
Yeah.
And that's,
No, I'll go ahead.
well, that's their perspective.
That's
That's
their
their
perspective,
perspective. And I get what they're saying, but at the same time, I have a problem with the word, even though sometimes when I'm in a heated moment,
Oh,
it comes out. But I still have a problem with the word.
I'm gonna tell you, until 1996, I didn't use the word. And what happened in '96? Being involved with music and so forth, and dealing with labels and rappers that I was managing, and going into offices where people were actually asking, "Can you give us some of that, like, gutter?" They were asking artists to draw their pictures. It's like going to a DJ and keep telling them what record to play. Like, that's crazy. And that's what was happening. But what they were steering them to was the provocative NWA-ish, just gutter lyricism that basically was stereotypical. We want you to highlight all the stereotypes of what Black America was. The cadre of characters from the Jigaboo and I don't even know the names of all those. But honestly, if you look at rap, I would say you have them all. I mean, the little Buckwheat. Buckwheat is definitely who's Buckwheat in the rap game? Lil Wayne. Yeah, see? I mean, it's like the Pimp. Who's the Pimp? Oh, okay. I mean, is it just me? We fall into these characters that actually perpetuate and actually elevate what was said about us. So who's the main audience buying it? Not us, but we validate it. We validate it, they buy it, and then it's hard to defend, just like the N-word. Now that we've used it at such an enormous rate and put it on records, when a white person says it, all of a sudden you can't, now they're telling you, well, you can't be mad, you're saying it all the time.
That's like when when I call my sisters or my brothers like crazy or stupid, and somebody else calls them stupid, and you want to get all up in arms, like, you can't do that. She's my sister.
Right.
I can only do that.
But truth of the matter is, and that's a little different, and I'm gonna say why.
Because there's money involved.
Not just money. I'm gonna say it's different in the sense of you're talking about the meaning of a word and history.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying. But back to what you were saying before about us perpetuating the whole situation, it's because there's money involved.
Right. So we sell out.
So y'all,
Right.
so y'all are getting back to what I've been saying for the longest, behavior modification. But I'm gonna get back to I'm gonna get back to that point in a minute. But just coming back from Cuba and understanding like our influence in like other places, because even like when I went to Jamaica, just came back from Cuba, it's like our music, or not our music, but the music that we think is our music, but really is controlled by other people. Other people in the world view us based on the music that we put out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because even in Cuba, like, people are using like the N-word, and it's like it's freely said, because even like somebody who I friended in Cuba, like looking at his Facebook page, like a white dude calls him the N-word, and it's like, why does he feel so freely to say that?
It's not part of the historical record. I'm gonna tell you, Trevor Noah touched this last night, and somebody else did it like if you go, somebody else posted it, and if whoever that is, if you're listening, chime in. But someone posted, and Trevor Noah talked about it last night. Katha is what they call black people in South Africa. Now, South Africans don't walk around so like Makafa. They don't do that.
Yeah.
They understand the historical relevance of it. It's never bought into. You can't change the spelling of it. You know what I mean? You can change. I mean, they don't do it. It's not done. And just on the scientific method, the argument of we change the meaning, so we change the outcome, we change the emotional value, you can't change history. And the scientific method I would ask people to give me empirical evidence with is, show me a people that take the worst that was said to them, name themselves that, and are successful. Jewish people don't walk around calling them by whatever negative terminology that they have themselves, that people had for them. They don't do that.
See, but you got to also remember is that, like Rebecca said, and I guess we can get into this now, is that black people in America are so easily manipulated because once somebody put a paycheck in front of us, we'll do whatever that person says, even if it's to the detriment of the masses of us. Because I said, like, even if you look at somebody like Snoop Dogg, since you thought about the pimp, right? Snoop Dogg, when he first came out, gangster rap, and he kept recreating who he was based on stereotypes.
Right.
But the masses of us don't understand how history and stereotypes, how they run coinciding with each other. So therefore, when we approach situations, we don't understand the historical understandings of what we're doing and how that's going to impact us nationally or even us globally. Because just listening to the music and going to different countries and understanding this is not just an American thing. This is global. Right.
We have a global. Hip hop was a huge voice, and look, Public Enemy had ridiculously large crowds around the world. Japan, Run DMC, all of them, they had the emulation. So whatever you emulate, whatever you portray will be emulated by other folks. And again, when somebody walks up to you in Africa and go, "My N-word, what's up?" And what's my brother's name? David Banner.
Yeah.
Said it kind of shocked him. And it hit him, it gave him a new perspective. But I don't know if David spoke to this. I'm not going to speak for him on this.
But do they really know what they're saying?
Exactly. They didn't have the historical relevance to it, so you gave it to them. So now you getting mad at an African would be crazy, unless that African grew up here. If you were over on the continent or Cuba, as you just returned from, they don't have the relevance of that word. But a white person who's here, who now wants to have an argument with you about, "Oh, no, y'all say it all the time." No. You know the historical relevance.
But you know what? For a lot of white people nowadays, they're just so disconnected. So you gotta also question that because
Really
no.
way?
I don't really feel this way,
Really,
but there are some white people that I've met, and it's just they just don't get it.
I'm gonna tell you this.
What is it that you want them to get?
I don't want them to get anything, but when you sit down and you have a conversation with somebody, and just how they express themselves, it's you don't get it.
What is it that you want them to get?
It's not just about race relations in America. A lot of white people just don't get it because, for example, I had a white student in my class recently, right? And we brought up the topic of reparations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before she even opened her mouth and said anything, her opinion, I already knew where she was going to go with it. No, black people in America, based on slavery, don't deserve reparations. I knew she was going to go there. So all she needed was the words in order to justify why she's saying no. I already knew she was going to say no, because again, once you break down the history of it, a lot of white people they know the history, but they don't understand the history. They're not abreast to the history the way we should be. Because remember, in America, they like to throw things to the back burner, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are a Jew, never forget. But if you're black, you need to get over slavery. So that's the mentality that white people have. Y'all need to get over it. It happened. It's over with. Move on with your life. Why are you still dwelling on it? So a lot of white people have that mindset where, listen, and this is exactly what the white girl said. Is listen, my parents never had slaves. Mm-hmm. So then I brought it to her from a different perspective. I'm well, listen. So prisons exist, right? And she's yeah. I'm most of the people in prison are what? She's black. So I'm do you really think that it's because we're more violent than you guys? She was yeah. I'm well, why do you think that? And she because if you look on the TV, so you saying that your world view is coming from the media. How many black people are you friends with? She's I'm not friends with a lot of black people. So I'm so your viewpoint on things are kind of skewed then. So she was like, okay, I kind of understand what you're saying. But then to go back to like the whole prison industry, I'm like, well, listen, if prisons are on Wall Street, and that means people invest in those prisons, that means for those white people who invest in prisons, aren't they investing in slavery?
And they want a particular outcome.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. So when I said it to her that way, she's like, well, yeah, if you invest in something, that means that, yeah, you are empowering slavery by investing in prisons.
And to connect the dots, mostly black folks don't really invest in the stock market. So you're not even in that game. But then you have the corporate side of that. Then you got corporations that feed into that as well. So they're they benefit and perpetuate the same exact thing. What was her response there?
She got quiet because, we're talking about teenagers, so they're like their whole
cognitive dissonance. Like you're stuck. I'm stuck now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm stuck now. Okay, but it's white privilege is deep in the sense that let's take it out. I've said often, and people gotten on me about it, that America, and I'm not gonna say white folks, but because it's not every individual. See, that's not what we're getting. It's not every individual, but as the popular culture, they love us like they love pets.
No, they love their pets more.
But I'm okay.
Because this lady in Cuba.
I'm gonna disagree.
But he's equating the love that they have similar to the love that they have
the whole
for
thing
their
is,
pets.
what do they understand about dogs? What do you understand about cats? Let's put myself in a cat's place or a dog's place that you have in the house. Is a dog meant to be in your damn house?
Is a dog what?
Is a dog meant to be in nature?
No.
Is a dog meant to be in your house? What is freedom to a dog? We don't concern ourselves with that. It's human privilege.
Yeah.
That we're using there. Oh, I feed my dog. He like one of the family. Let y'all get hungry. See what happened to the dog. I'm just saying, like, what you talking? It's like one of the family. Oh no, that's Jeff is cool. You know what I mean? All those same equations that white privilege to black folks. You don't have to you think you understand because you allow them to exist.
Yeah.
You provide them with food, so America provides jobs. And then we fall into that because we are always talking about what as black folks?
We need jobs.
We need jobs. Who are you talking to, master? Like the dog comes up to the side of you when you're eating and go, if he was free, he got his own cat. He go out there and get his own stuff. If he's free, he go to get his own stuff. He's not asking you for nothing.
Yeah.
Same perspective I see that America loves us like dogs, like pets. You got advocates for you, like abolition. Historically, people go, the abolition, no white folk came out. No, they simply didn't want you to be slaves. But when it came to equality, they said, oh, no, we're done now.
No. But you know what's funny? Because even like a lot of people make reference to Frederick Douglass, and he was like this great abolitionist. But you got to understand, Frederick Douglass was actually used by white people because he was articulate. So they needed a black person who was articulate in order to get across their agenda. And if you look at the history of the United States, is that white people always use black people as their spokespersons in order to get across their agenda.
Right.
Because, like you said, once slavery was abolished, it was like, okay, slavery's gone now. But as far as equality, that's never going to happen.
Oh no! Well, it's not going to happen without a fight. Because genetically, what's happening here, we bought it. I'm about to tangent into something here that people get angry about, but you've seen Ma'afa 2000. It said that we stayed at 12% of the population. And then Latinos come in and they surpass us. It's not so much that, it's not so much the immigration as it is the procreation.
Mm-hmm.
And part of our fight has been the right to the right to stop life, abort. And that was a dramatic, talking about, you were just, behavior modification.
Mm-hmm.
The poorest of black people in the 60s and the 50s said, oh no, grandma take care of them if you know what I mean? Like, we gonna make babies coming into this world. That was our moral stance. And then Planned Parenthood started paying politicians. 100% of the Congressional Black Caucus was totally against abortion. And the whole thing is, people, it's a choice. Without education, there is no choice. But the same system that doesn't want to educate, give you sexual education, give you that, you know what I mean, wants to say, oh, yeah, we won't give you sexual education, but you can abort. And you have, it's your choice. Without education, there is no choice. So that's another one of those streams of behavior modification, which cause us not to be in the numbers here in our land, because there's a whole nother historical thing about, most of us keep talking about we were brought here. There's a bunch of empirical evidence that might have been the greatest historical scam. Not that no Africans were brought here. Not that there wasn't a movement of Africans. It's called divide and conquer. But there were a great many here, and you were modified to believe that you actually came from somewhere else. And isn't that a great and powerful people that can move 200 million people around the globe and dislocate them?
Yeah.
That's a great story. So we buy into those stories. So everything, look, then what this man says goes. And here we are. You just said about Frederick Douglass. No one's going to use Marcus Garvey as a model. They're not presenting him. They'll continue to present Frederick Douglass, because although I'm not taking away from his greatness, or because the whole thing is, everybody has their time and their circumstance. But Marcus Garvey came out and he was talking straight freedom.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking negotiated freedom. He wasn't talking any of that. This earth is yours. This earth, homeland, we can reconnect to home, which is everyone's home. We can, they're connected to home right now, economically, and we're not. So, okay, enough of my rant.
No, but I get what you're saying, because even, you mentioned Planned Parenthood, and again, blackface who tried to get across white objectives, W.E.B. Du Bois. Because when Margaret Sanger went to him, he started accepting her whole philosophy and started promoting Planned Parenthood to black folks, which was then called the Negro Project, which was to limit the amount of black children born in the United States. So again, blackface, white objectives. And that's been the constant thing throughout American history. And that's why for most of us, we're confused on what to do in America. Because even for
That's why education is so important.
because when people say education, what do you mean by education? We need to clarify.
Right. Exactly. Indoctrination, because any institutions, including our historically black colleges and universities, are not steeped in the reality of historical.
We need both, though. We need both the institutionalized education, and we need our people to educate us, our elders to educate us.
Yes, I would agree, but I would say whose institutions would be the argument, because
that's your
what is the great what's the great thing about Frederick Douglass? They always brag about the self-educated.
He wasn't self-educated. He was educated by his mistress, but that's a different.
Okay, well, thank you, the historian here. So you can tell us about that later. But what I'm saying is, oftentimes you hear about self-educated. You had a lot of the when Reconstruction took place, you had a lot of those slaves that learned to read and were incredible orators. That the folks who the supposed have been reading for hundreds of years were going, okay, what did he just? Because we dove into that, but we dove into it with our own freedom. They had to put a halt to that. They had to put a halt to all these people who came out of slavery, went into education, educated themselves, learned, saw the world, said we're taking our part in it, and we're
But you have to,
progressing.
but they were active in their education. We're not active in our education. We just go to school, we
Right.
do what they
Okay,
teach us,
now,
and then we go
that's
home.
why he was saying
we
clarify
don't
with
go,
it.
we don't
but that's
go
why, exactly.
deeper into, if I read this book, I see this word, well, what does this word mean? Let me go to the dictionary and see what this word means. Now the dictionary tells me what this word means. Let me go here and see what this word means and what, we don't do that.
But not only, but see, like my father always said, like if people sat down and talked to my dad, it would be, Guyanese got, but you would think, you all, like Guyanese as a whole, they talking politics, they're talking this. So the way things work and how they envision where they want to go is that's what their education is based on. You see what I'm saying? It's the aim is where you're gathering education. Here, you're told to get an education to get an aim. That's indoctrination. Because if you're educating me and then telling me I have a choice and I don't already have a predisposed trajectory, then you guide my footsteps.
But you know what's funny? Because one of the people I befriended in Cuba, his thing was that in Cuba, you can't do anything in Cuba without having an education. Now, their economy is poor still, but that's because of government, issues, and everybody makes reference to that. But you can't get a job in Cuba. You can't do anything in Cuba unless you take certain types of tests that they know that you're prepared to go out in the world. In the industry that you want to go into, you actually spend 2 years in that industry before you can say, like, nah, this is probably not the industry for me. I want to do something else. You have to at least spend 2 years doing that industry.
Mm. So
they teach you about the industry. You have to master math, history, and I forgot what the other subject was. And then you have to take a test in that industry so they understand that you're prepared for that industry. Then you go into that industry for 2 years. And then if you're in the industry for 2 years, you're like, you know what? This is not the thing for me. You can then leave and go join whatever industry you want. But there's a preparation for whatever it is you want to do in America. Because I remember when I was in school and everybody keep asking you in high school, like, what it is you want to do. I don't know. Because there's no system that gears you towards doing anything. And I think that's one of the major issues for a lot of black children in America. Is like, whatever you want to do, you have to go find out and do it for yourself. There's no apprentice system where someone is training you to do something. Because, for example, we talked about this like a couple.
I'm trying to disagree.
No. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, right? Because, say for example, you have a parent, right? Single parent household, and you want to be a doctor. And your mom is probably like a janitor or whatever. So you want to be a doctor. Who are you going to go to in your neighborhood that's going to prepare you to be a doctor? That's going to teach you or give you an apprentice to be a doctor?
And I'm going to point to, there are exceptions, but the rule would say no one. But you got some exceptions, like